This is Antietam. This is the mass grave at Antietam during the Civil War, the United States Civil War, the American Civil War. The thing that seems like half of the MAGA supporters are clamoring for. People are fed up. Business owners are fed up. Everyday workers are fed up. People are done. And so about half of Trump supporters are calling for martial law. The other half are just saying, Civil War, bring it on. Because we're not seeing it done in the courts, clearly. We're not seeing it done legally through the channels that we've been given by the Constitution. So the last one we've been given is the second. So this is what you see. This is what I'm trying to illustrate here in this video. This is Civil War. This, what you see on the screen, the mass graves. That's what Civil War brings. And so as people continue to call for martial law, General Flynn has done it twice or three times now. He said that the president has martial law as a means to an end. He could institute martial law, then hold another election with the military's capabilities, and then prove that he wins. It's possible. Maybe what we see happen. But this is important to note, that Civil War is bad news. The American Civil War, I believe, was the bloodiest war that the United States has ever fought. Obviously, because we're fighting both sides of it, and winning just means killing more of yourself in that instance. So that's the first thing to be aware of. But the second is, if you're calling for a civil war, you're assuming that everyone who would be injured and killed in that war, or anyone who would be injured in terms of legal injury, someone who takes a loss, someone whose business is hurt, the entire economy and the world's reputation that is the United States, the city on a hill for freedom, if we fought another civil war, you understand, majority of people fighting that war wouldn't know what it was about. They wouldn't know why they were actually fighting. And it would be sad to think, but majority of people today are ignorant. They're unaware of the true enemy that we're fighting right now. And so obviously you can see a little under half of the country is still mesmerized, still paranoid into this hypnosis of COVID is bad and Orange Man is bad and everything that, is kind of a red herring for evil. Everything that is a projection of evil by the left. Well, those things are really bad, but, all the freedom, the things that you would have loved 20 years ago, the things that you would have said textbook Americanism, those things are bad now. So just wanted to point out a few things about Civil War that wouldn't be good today like they were maybe the last round. You can look at the American Civil War, the first go, and say soldiers on both sides knew what they were signing up for. States' rights versus federal rights, the whole age-old debate over slavery. Not going to get into that again. But you can understand, that's a joke by the way, but you can understand why people today would take up arms just as easily, but not know why. And you can imagine if, 37% of Democrat voters would have had their minds changed to some degree about Biden had they known about Hunter's transgressions before the election. That's interesting why the media blocked that out then for that good reason. So if that percentage, call it even 10%, say it's 20%, of the Biden voters that wouldn't have voted for him had they known, that should just show you right there how ignorant those people would be, because those people are still willing to pick up arms against patriots, against the American first agenda, because we're the Nazis, right? We're the fascists. They would be willing to arm themselves, yet the statistics show they're ignorant to what is going on. And that is shown out over the last 5 years. You can see the numbers that the leftist journalists listen to themselves, where the conservative journalists listen to both sides. And so they have a better objective perspective. I'll say that 5 times fast. So Civil War would be bad. Got me? Civil War would be bad. Not the worst case scenario, but it would be worse than martial law. So what is martial law? A lot of people are calling for martial law. Are you familiar with martial law? You've heard it. Did you know it wasn't spelled like the name Marshall? So martial law is the imposition of direct military control of normal civil functions or suspension of civil law by a government, especially in response to a temporary emergency where civil forces are overwhelmed or are in an occupied territory. Invert that. Would you not also then call martial law or enact martial law if you were being occupied? If your civil forces were overwhelmed because they were occupied? A lot like a parasite. Like if the body were taken over by a viral parasite. would you not then say, okay, we need to treat the body chemically? We can't just let it run its course? That's what we do in medicine, right? So martial law, this would be saying, hey, we cannot just let this run its course through the legal system because it is overwhelmed and corrupted. So that's what martial law is. And a lot of people are saying, well, if we had martial law in the United States, that would become a dictatorship because Trump would never give up power again. If he had the military, I mean, you see the Democrat governors doing it. They take power, they'll never give it back. If Trump took military power, they'd never give it back. And if he tried, the military would keep it, some people say. So just to prove this out, martial law has been used in the United States before. The martial law, in the United States, martial law has been declared for a state or for other localities under various circumstances, including a direct foreign attack. Put a pin in that thought. Do you remember Ron, the Code Monkey Z, when he said something to the effect of this major SolarWinds hack for all of the different intelligence agencies? When he said this is essentially a digital Pearl Harbor, when he said this is a direct attack on our intelligence community and to the United States systems abroad and broadly in general, he said it was a digital Pearl Harbor. Take the pin back out. This includes after a direct foreign attack, i.e. Hawaii after the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor, or New Orleans during the Battle of New Orleans, after a major disaster like the Chicago Fire in 1871, San Francisco after the earthquake in 1906. So they're giving you multiple examples of when martial law was declared because of absolute chaos. Okay, this is in response to chaos associated with protests and mob action after the 1934 West Coast waterfront strike in San Francisco. Then that gives a bunch more for freedom riders in Alabama, Montgomery. Okay, or Montgomery, Alabama. So, what does this show you? Well, martial law as a concept in the United States is closely tied, I'm reading, with the right of habeas corpus. So Trump could suspend habeas corpus like Lincoln did during the Civil War, which is the essence of a right to a hearing on lawful imprisonment, or more broadly, the supervision of lawful or law enforcement by the judiciary. So if the judiciary is not acting within the Constitution, law enforcement, or military, or special ops, or anyone else, can act legally at the president's request, right? Because now special ops reports directly to the president or directly to SecDef. They're meeting today right now at about 3:30. Do you see where I'm getting here? Okay. Martial law is imposed by Article 1, Section 9 of the U.S. Constitution. It states, quote, the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus shall not be suspended unless when in cases of rebellion or invasion, the public safety may require it. Well, I would say we're in that position now, wouldn't you? Wouldn't you tell the president if he asked you, if he looked you in the eye and he goes, do you think we're invaded by China at this point? Don't you think I've shown enough reasonable suspicion, reasonable cause, reasonable doubt? When a police officer pulls you over and says you've been speeding, how you respond to, do you know why I pulled you over, could give him reasonable suspicion, a reasonable cause to search your vehicle or to suspect that there's been a crime committed. Has there not been enough evidence to show that China has not been just waging war with the United States, but that we've been infiltrated? This has been an infiltration. Well, the Constitution says that we can suspend the writ of habeas corpus in cases of rebellion or invasion. They didn't invade, they infiltrated. What do you do there? So my call has always been, if you're going to impose martial law, you got to do it right. Okay, so this is saying martial law can be used by governments to enforce the rule over the public, or as seen in multiple countries listed below, such incidents may occur after a coup, okay, or when threatened by popular protest to suppress political opposition, or to stabilize insurrections or perceived insurrections, like the October crisis in Canada, not too long ago. Martial law may be declared in cases of major national disasters. However, most countries use a different legal construct, such as a state of emergency. So they don't suspend normal public law for an emergency. Like, just because there's a fire doesn't mean that all normal laws go out the window. But this is also worth noting. It says martial law has been imposed during conflicts and in cases of occupation, where the absence of any other civil government provides for an unstable population. Examples of this form of military rule include post-World War II Reconstruction in Germany and in Japan. So in the Reconstruction era of those two countries, as well as in the Confederate States of America during our own Reconstruction. So people have been saying we're in a war. We're in a digital World War III. We're in a digital civil war, but the civil war aspect is not left versus right or Democrat versus Republican. It's like the husk of the Republican Party and the husk of the Democrat Party. And the one that is inside the Democrats right now is China. It's just China wearing whatever Democrat mask it can find, like a little Russian stacking doll. And you know for a long, long time now that Donald Trump's hand has just been up the GOP like a puppet, and that's how he's been working. But I mean, truly, the populist Trump working as the Republican against the communist Chinese party operating as the Democratic Party. And you know that they're only doing that because they had a money vacuum. When Hillary lost and she owed all the money to the Saudis, someone had to pay them. Oh, we can pay you right now. So that's what I have to say. I think that martial law would be so much better than civil war. I know that we would win a civil war, but I know that martial law keeps everyone a winner. Martial law, you'd still have a few people acting out, but it would keep the population safe and allow the military to correct the things and right the wrongs and arrest the traitors. Civil war will get that job done too, but it will be so much more messy and bloody and violent, and we don't need it. So, please, support the channel, subscribe, you can leave your comment below, let me know where you think I went astray, like the video, and then of course share this, put this somewhere so that people can find it, and then do everything else that you can do to promote the use of martial law over civil war if it comes to that, and to keep America afloat.